Every box they try to put me in. I got a lot of enemies who used to be my friends.
What's going on, everybody? SWAGKAGE here, and welcome to today's video
get
where
it.
I'm going to be doing a request that I've gotten a lot more than I ever expected to when I started this channel, and that is ranking the members of the Akatsuki from strongest to weakest.
Oh, I'm very
despite the way I wrote
excited
the title, I'm actually going to be doing it in the reverse order, so I'm going to be
from
ranking
weakest
them
to
from
strongest.
weakest to strongest.
Okay, so
starting
from
the
weakest to
bottom and
strongest,
working up
y'all.
from there. Now, keep in mind, going into this video, that there's no real foolproof objective way to organize these guys in terms of how strong they are. Another thing to keep in mind is that power scaling Naruto characters is a bit difficult because there's a lot more to it than how hard they hit and what they're capable of blowing up.
I agree.
So obviously I'm not going to be ranking these characters based on their physical strength alone. I'm going to be taking a whole lot of things into consideration here. And these guys are essentially going to be ordered
so
based
hard
on
to
who I think is capable
order
of
these
winning
characters,
a fight against
guys.
everybody
It's so
placed
hard to do.
beneath them. I know there's no way I'm going to be able to please everybody with this video, no matter how
Trust
I
me,
rank
I've
these
tried,
Akatsuki
Swag.
members, somebody's going to get pissed off.
Someone's
That's
going to be
unavoidable.
mad.
I'm just going to do my best and hope you guys enjoy the
That's
video.
all you
So
could do.
Without further ado, let's just get started. So first up, we have Zetsu at the bottom of the list. No surprise here, I don't really need to explain myself. Even in the series' earlier days when his origins hadn't been revealed, it was still pretty clear that Zetsu wasn't meant to be taken too seriously as a fighter and that he worked as the organization's intel guy. He just gathered information and didn't really do much fighting himself. Now, that isn't to say that
He's a
he's completely
sneaky
irrelevant.
son of a
Zetsu,
gun,
or
though.
at least one half of him anyway, should be given loads of credit for essentially creating the Akatsuki and successfully convincing all of his founders and leaders and anybody else he deemed necessary to follow his
That's
cause
a
and
huge
unknowingly
feat.
help him revive Kaguya. If you want to put Zetsu at the top of this list just because he's an extension of Kaguya's will, then I guess by all means do that. But since this guy was seriously afraid that Kakashi and Minato could both kill him in like 2 seconds, and further taking into account that this Minato didn't have both of his arms, it's pretty safe to say that Zetsu's not all that tough. Moving on, up next we have Hidan, and while Hidan is probably the most physically gifted member of the Akatsuki, just because he's immortal and he can't die unless he starves to death, most people agree that his showings aren't really that impressive, and he's easily the least intimidating member of the Akatsuki. If Kakazu
I wouldn't say he
wasn't
wasn't that impressive.
Against Asuma, Shikamaru, Kotetsu, and Izumo, that would have been it for him. After Asuma decapitated him, he would have been done for. Not to mention he got dispatched pretty easily by Shikamaru, and granted this was a Shikamaru with loads of prep time, but all it took to kill this guy were a couple paper bombs. Well, okay,
still,
a lot more than a couple paper
that
bombs,
was
but
an
nowhere near
iconic
as many
moment.
as the
You
600
can't deny
billion
that.
Conan attempted to use to kill Tobi. And while Hidan's ritual jutsu is pretty scary, and not something that most characters in the Naruto world would want to go up against, anybody quick enough to dodge his scythe is safe from being affected by it. I think I can say pretty safely that if any of the other Akatsuki members aside from Zetsu were to go up against Hidan with full intel, they would be able to get rid of him pretty quickly. Coming up next, we have Konan, the paper girl herself, a possible suspect for the origami killer from Heavy Rain. A lot of people are probably going to be mad at me for putting Konan this low on the list, and it's not that Konan's weak, it's just that she doesn't have the feats or really the hype either to put her above any other member of the
still wouldn't
Akatsuki.
underestimate
I also think
her,
it's
though.
really important to keep in mind when talking about how strong Konan is in relation to other members of the Akatsuki that the only reason she's
Sorry,
a
you guys,
member
I'm
of the
really trying to pay
organization
attention
in the
here.
first place is because she was a friend of Nagato and Yahiko. Every other member of the Akatsuki was recruited based on how powerful they were and the skill set they possessed.
I mean,
Not
that's
Konan though.
fair,
She just got in
I
because she
guess.
was a friend of the leader, or former leader, I guess. I'm not really sure whether it's Nagato or Obito. Regardless, Konan is still incredibly powerful, especially with prep time, as she was able to create a literal sea of paper bombs.
I
made
was
up of
astounded
600 billion
when
of
I
them,
seen
like I
that.
mentioned earlier, which would have been more than
Let's
enough
get
to
that
kill
clear.
Obito if not for the fact that he had Izanagi. Now, many people have said that based on the little
Izanagi.
scuffle that Obito and Konan had before she opened up this sea of paper bombs, she's actually stronger than him even without prep time, but that's not necessarily true. I think the only reason she did so well against Obito in the opening moments of their fight is because Obito underestimated her, as he himself admits. Since if he
Severely
wanted to,
underestimated
he could
her.
have just phased through all of her attacks. She isn't Obito level, but she does have plenty of other feats and abilities. She's capable of teleporting by turning her body into paper. She was capable of tanking a point-blank fireball jutsu from Jiraiya by coating herself in her paper. She's capable of suffocating people by coating their bodies in paper. She's capable of flying by manifesting paper wings. She can create deadly solid paper spears. And
she has
can even
quite the bit of
like
jutsu arsenal.
Just as well as metal shuriken.
I mean,
now all of that said, none of this puts her above anybody aside from Hidan and Zetsu. But again, not because Conan is weak, just because all of the other Akatsuki members are so absurdly strong.
They're
now,
too
this is where
freaking
things
strong.
Get really tricky. I initially had Datara placed a little bit higher on this list, and I know plenty of people are going to be really mad at me for putting him this low, but again, keep in mind that the people who are in the lower half of this list aren't here because they're weak, but just because everybody else is so damn powerful. So, okay, here's the biggest thing. From this point forward, a lot of the differences in ability between each subsequent member of the Akatsuki, it's gonna be really small and difficult to notice. Like, Datara is not very far behind the person who's above him, and that person's not very far behind the person above them, and so on and so forth. Anyway, Datara is an absolute monster. Like, really, this guy's no joke. He was fast enough to keep up with the Tsuchikage in a battle in the sky, and both of them were moving so fast that an experienced
really enjoyed
Jonin
Datara.
watching from the ground couldn't tell what was going on. He was fast enough to avoid plenty of Gaara's sand attacks, quick enough to create and
he was so mad when he found out Sasuke didn't
clone
die.
before a QB-enhanced Naruto could land a hit on him, fast enough to avoid a blitz from Sasuke. And this is important
Swag
because
is bringing
this
up great
same
points as
Sasuke,
usual.
when he wasn't powered up by having absorbed Orochimaru, blitzed all of Team 7, including Naruto, Sai, Sakura, and Yamato, and none of them were prepared
they
for
were
it. His
not
left
that
eye
great
is
at that
capable of seeing
moment,
through
though.
Genjutsu. He has a ridiculously versatile arsenal thanks to his sea clay variants, including C1, which he uses to create various animals out of clay.
I
C2,
forgot
which he
how
creates
raw
a
Datara
gigantic
was.
flying explosive dragon. C3, which was so powerful it nearly blew up the entire sand village. C4, which destroys the bodies of his enemies on a cellular level. And C0, which is his self-destruct move that created an explosion comparable in size to a Jubi blast. Datara is no joke at all, and I feel really bad about putting him this low on the list. I mean, really, this guy's a freak of nature. He's had both of his arms ripped off before and didn't really seem to care when it happened.
Did not care
lay out an entire
at all.
minefield, then fell on his own landmines and survived, and he doesn't even have to use clay to perform his explosive jutsu. In his battle with Gaara, he just used Gaara's sand instead, so that way he didn't have to use up any more of the clay necessarily. I would love to say that there's something holding Datara back and keeping him this low on the list, but really there isn't. Everybody else on this list is just so insanely powerful. So next up after Datara, we fittingly have Sasori of the Red Sand, the strongest puppet master in the entire series.
I love Sasori.
I'm sure plenty of people are going to be like, what? Sasori's fodder? Why is he so high on the list? Yeah, he's not stronger than Conan or okay, look. Here's a panel of Datara literally saying Sasori is stronger than him. Datara is so prideful that he literally killed himself because he was so pissed off that he couldn't beat Sasuke. I'm pretty sure Datara was
Which is
telling the truth.
ridiculous.
And I don't think I really need to back the statement up for anybody who actually knows what Sasori is capable of. Like, yeah, he lost to Sakura and an old lady. He's fodder, but like, no, Sasori is a powerhouse. One of the scariest fighters for anybody in the verse to go up against. Sasori has insta-kill poison that was only stopped by an antidote created specifically to counter it. 298 puppets at his disposal. A puppet body that gives him incredible versatility.
Give those
in both
facts,
close and
Swag.
long-range
List
combat.
them.
The third
Yes.
Kazekage puppet, literally made from that Kazekage's body, capable of using all of his abilities, including the legendary Iron Sand. The Haruko
Sakura
shell,
was
which
so
on its
raw
own was
in
able to
that
deal
scene.
with Kankuro with little difficulty. And apparently he took down an entire country with his performance of 100 puppets jutsu. Which isn't surprising. I mean, even if you take out the puppets, you still have Sasori's insanely powerful puppet body to deal with. And you might think, well, you can just blow Sasori up. But no! Sakura punched him to pieces and he just built himself again. It's like what Kakazu did when Hidan got his head chopped off, except Sasori was able to do it himself. And for anybody who really thinks that Sasori truly lost to Sakura and Chio, first of all, Chio says that he let himself get hit by the final attack. Second of
Okay,
all,
guys,
Chio had,
I'll tell
like,
you
the
how it
10
ends because I
strongest
want to have
puppets
enough
ever
time to
created.
give my
Shigematsu's
reaction.
10
See you in the
puppets
next.
created.
Okay, guys, I am back. That was me reacting to SWAGKAGE's list of Akatsuki members from weakest to strongest. I will put the link in the description if you want to go watch the original video. It went Kakazu, Kisame, I think Itachi was next, and then it was Pain, and then Obito are, you know, Pain or Nagato. So Obito was number 1. I completely agree with this list. It's a very, very hard list to make. I know a lot of you were upset that Itachi was not number 1, but if you go look at SWAGKAGE's points, they're really, really great points. And yeah, thank you guys so much for this reaction. Like this video, subscribe, comment, do all those wonderful things. I love you guys so much. And as always, Christian out.